Okay, so what we're going to do, we're just going to show you guys some logical ways to handle switchbacks. You're going to encounter switchbacks a lot sharper and steeper than this in places that we go. When we go to Tahoe, you're going to get a lot of these. Okay, there's switchbacks kind of all over up there. So one thing you have to remember is every switchback has several different radiuses to it. So every single turn, you've got an inside of your turn and you have the outside of your turn. Somewhere around out here is what we call the ramp or the cushion. It's usually the part that's loose and rocky. It's where guys come and they skid and you're going to knock all the loose stuff to the outside. So what you have to remember is we have to learn the term apex. And apex is right here on the inside of this term. And on the outside is where we set up. So we're coming up a switchback. We want to set up to the outside. And a lot of people will just look and kind of turn their handlebars. That's half correct. The other half that you want to incorporate into this equation is actually bike tilt. And the reason bike tilt is important is because have you ever just ridden along and just tilted your hips and felt your bike kind of sway underneath you and kind of wander? The bike will only turn so sharp with the handlebars. And if you're only going so fast and you turn your handlebars, you'll notice that the bike will turn into a point where the front tires start skidding. Okay, and that's where a lot of people have to stop because they're going to overshoot their turn. So if you actually learn to lean your hips to the inside of every apex, your bike will actually pick a sharper turn. So I'm going to start every single switchback from the far outside. I want to start down on the downstream side, if you will, or the low downhill side. I'm going to come up and I'm going to look at the apex of the turn. That's the first thing I'm going to do before I get there. As I look at the apex, I'm going to start turning my handlebar into the apex. And then at this point, when my front wheel gets to the apex, that's when our hip lean comes into play. If we don't do hip lean, I'll actually ride straight over into this cliff here. Okay, have any of you ever done that?
I can demonstrate that.
Yeah. Okay.
I got it down.
All right, so you kind of go, like, and we call that squaring off a turn, because a person goes, nyeh, nyeh, and nyeh, and then it's kind of like you have to make a couple turns. So we're going to learn how to do it in a real pretty arcing fashion, just like a car racer, where we come from the outside, we start to sweep into our apex, the handlebars are turned at full lock, and if you turn them any more, you'll slide out. So you can't turn any sharper. The only next thing you can do is tilt your bike. So I'm going to actually drop my handlebars or drop my hips, if you will, okay? It's just a little hip action like that. So you just kind of tilt the bike. That puts the bike on the side of the tire, and when every time you do that, you increase your radius by about 30%. All right, so it's really kind of a cool trick. When we're downhilling, we do the same thing. We downhill and we turn the bike and we steer with our knees, with the top two pinched between our thighs. You can only steer so much with your handlebars. And when the wheel's rotating and turning, it's actually providing centrifugal force. Have any of you ever grabbed onto the wheel and spun it, and then tried to turn it, and you feel it fight you back? Okay, that's the centrifugal force that the wheel's doing. So that's why a lot of people go wide, because the wheel's spinning, you're turning, and you're turning the handlebars, and then it starts to skid, 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 and you go bonk into this, and you kind of have to turn and then go again. So I'm going to kind of demonstrate what it looks like going up. Now going down, we do the same exact thing. The only difference is you have to apply both brakes. In most cases, a lot of people will do front or rear, or they'll do just rear. We want to learn to do both. So coming up a turn, I'm going to set up this turn. I want to be in a gear that's appropriate. I'm going to take the outside, I look to the apex, and then you see how I tilt my bike? You see how much faster that bike turned around that turn? And I did that. Now I'm going to demonstrate not doing that. Now don't do this. This is a no-no.
I didn't tape that. I didn't just film that.
You didn't see that?
Nope.
Okay, so here's what happens if I don't lean my bike. Watch the difference in the radius. I'm going to look at the apex. I'm going to turn. Whoops. 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 You see that? You can't hold it straight and turn a sharp radius. You can't do it. Now, coming down, I'll do the same thing. Oops. Right away. Okay, so I'm going to come down. Oops, sorry. I'm going to hold it straight. I'm going to turn. Okay, I'm going to even go really slow. Boy, and it takes up kind of the whole turn. Now let's try that with bike lean this time. So once again, proper way. Downhill side, we look at the apex, we come into it, we look. When the tire's there, I tilt the bike. Look how much sharper it comes around that turn. Okay? Same thing coming downhill.
I want to see that hip action.
Coming downhill, you're coasting. Outside, both brakes, look at the apex, and tilt the bike. Look how I came in on the inside. See how much sharper that was? You see where I came in here? So if you're going fast, you buy yourself a whole bunch of extra time. Because what happens to most of us? We go here, we go, ah, ah, right about to here, right? And that's because the bike is not tilted. Once I tilt the bike, that front tire will grab and bring it right around. Okay? So just think about that when you're going up. Let me go back again. When you're going up, just use those hips. So feel your thighs between the saddle, tilting that bike in towards the apex. The head initiates, outside, I initiate, I look at the apex, head in, tilting with my hips. And I come around perfectly to the inside. Isn't that cool? All right, let's give her a shot.